Welcome to Rewired Sober, the podcast that tells the truth about why women drink and what it actually takes to stop. Spoiler alert, it's not a character flaw. It's your conditioning and the roles you were handed long before you ever picked up a drink. I'm your host, Kate Vitella. I have been an RN for well over 2 decades. I'm addiction trained, a psychiatric nurse, and a sobriety coach. And this is where we do science and soul work of a woman's recovery. So you can stop white knuckling this shit and actually start trusting yourself. I am a raging feminist, a fashion lover, and I swear a lot. So if that's for you, buckle up, let's go. Welcome back to Rewired Sober. I have an awesome episode queued up for us today. I'm going to talk about art and creativity and all the things. There's this thing I see occurring, especially with women in early sobriety. It's like they stop drinking, and I know I went through this, and then they're like, cool, now what the hell do I do with myself, right? Everything feels either flat or overwhelming or honestly just kind of fucking boring. And I think what most people don't realize, it's so much more than just removing the alcohol. It's also about what replaces it and how you restructure your life. Because if nothing replaces it, your brain's going to go right back to what it knows every single time. And one of the most overlooked, underutilized, borderline magical tools we have is creativity. So I'm bringing on a guest specifically to talk about this. And I mean creativity as in either expression, movement, making something beautiful out of what's inside of you, and instead of just numbing it out. And this can show up in many, many different ways in our lives because drinking just shuts everything down. But I feel like creativity brings everything online. So I'm bringing in today's guest. I'm excited. I'm talking to someone who actually lives this lifestyle. Susi Milne is a Vancouver-based Canadian artist, performer, and cultural force whose work moves across visual art, performance, and community-based practice. With long-standing presence in the artist-run center movement and leadership with organizations like Grunt Gallery and the Western Front, she's known for her creative vision, her candor, and her ability to bring people together. Grounded in lived experience and deep commitment to recovery, Susi speaks with wit, depth, and honesty about art, resilience, and the transformative power of connection. Welcome, Susi.
Hello, Kate. It's wonderful to be here. And I'd like to say that I'm grateful to be on the unceded, stolen, abused, and still occupied territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, colonially known as Vancouver, Canada. And I've been an artist all my life, and I am coming up by the grace of the goddess in July to 24 years sober from my drug of choice, alcohol. Now, would you like me just to say my little opening thing right now, Kate?
Yes, please give me your opening speech.
Okay, so when I think about art and sobriety, I don't think of art as a hobby or a distraction. I think of it as a life-giving structure. I was lucky enough to be brought up by two architects slash artists, so we always had materials around, and we didn't like they always encouraged us to draw and paint. So making art gave me a place to put memory, feeling, humor, grief, beauty, and intelligence. It gave me a way to stay connected to myself and to other people. And this is in and out of sobriety, but especially in sobriety when I really needed it. And the art community gave me sort of a form of belonging that was not centered around alcohol or self-destruction, but around making, witnessing, remembering, and sharing.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. And I love that you said life-giving, right? Because we get into these addictive habits and then it's soul-sucking, life-sucking, we're numbing out all the time. And before we hit record, you were talking about the ways that it put life back into you using art and creativity. And I really want to get into all that. But so you've been sober for a very long time. So congratulations on that.
24 years from my drug of choice, alcohol. And then in by the grace of the goddess in September, I'll take 8 years sober from heavy duty opioids, where I almost
Good for
died
you.
3 times.
And you were saying that you've shared your story many times, and they've called you the Quentin Tarantino of recovery because you you went there with your
Yeah, I
story.
did. I had really been, like in AA, they say, don't tell war stories. Like don't stand at the podium and freak everyone out. And I love the fact that this organization I'm in right now, and most recovery organizations tell you no gory details, like, because there's no reason to reactivate others or reactivate myself. So I've learned how to do that. But yeah, I had a pretty, like, I mean, I didn't lose everything because I come from privilege, but certain extent, although my family did abandon me at one point. But anyway, so yeah, I've had some low bottoms, but I'm back with a
Yeah.
vengeance.
Yeah. And let's talk about that, because one of the things you brought up was creativity and art giving you back self-respect. Because it's
Yes.
I too had some low bottoms, and I've shared many times on this podcast.
Yeah.
And for me, my introduction back into creativity was fashion. Yes, let's talk about self-respect via creating.
Well, once when I first got sober from alcohol, I remember somebody sharing that they were surprised at the depths of their own self-loathing, and I really related to that. So, I guess through drugs and alcohol, I think like I just had no self-worth. It's been a long journey, and I kept drawing. I've been drawing and drawing because it's cathartic in a way that I don't even. Like, I've got hundreds and hundreds of these journals that are filled with drawing. And that drawing stuff really helps. And I know this is a podcast, but I just want you to see, like, what I do is I do drawings on the bus of people and stuff. And it really helps me to draw the human form. It helps me, like I said to you earlier, it helps me understand that I might, like, at first it's like I might have some worth, because I can do these drawings. And everybody else seems to think they're worthy, but you know what I mean? So I want to say though that the last 3.5 years
Yeah,
is
or
okay,
yeah.
since the Death Down She Recovers Foundation, that has changed my life because I've been able to share without shame. Like, you're a
Yes,
coach,
same.
you know what's going on. So up until that point, I was doing really well. I was like a brave warrior, but a wounded warrior, but I was always like, in hyper fight and flight and scared and whatever, like things triggering me all over the place. And it was hard. Like, it was hard to be sober. I mean, I have moments of joy and everything, but now since I've been with She Recovers, it's completely opened my heart up because I realize I'm not alone. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, no, I love what you're saying. I mean, it's this all lends to our self-respect. And go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so when I think of my self-respect, I think of myself like I do have this vision of my heart, and it used to be covered in crap, terrible stuff was all surrounding my poor heart. It was all dirty and awful. And then since the recovery work and since She Recovers, all that's been going away. I've been doing tons of work, to help my shame move through my body. I've had a lot of childhood sexual assault and ongoing sexual assault all through my life as a young adult. So I went to the sexual assault center here in town, the one that gives it, and I got like therapy there for 4 years while I'm one with those counselors, and it was really hard and awful. But I was able to move a lot of the shame through. It's hard work, but it's really, for me, it was hard work. So my heart had all this black stuff all around it, but now I can truly tell you that I see my heart as this beautiful, like, organ in my body that's surrounded by gold and crimson and health. And it's like that has really helped me to feel like I still have a lot of unworthiness issues, but it's coming along. The artwork has been great because the more I put into it, the better I feel about myself. But I've always been like, the imposter syndrome and all that stuff. Like when I think back on my art career, I don't feel that proud of it, even though I should, because I've had lots of exhibitions and everything, and lots of people buy my stuff. But I still don't like, no, they don't really. Like I really encourage people. I believe every single person is an artist. And I believe the reason for that is because we all have unique DNA, which means we can all that's my little, 65-year-old conclusion that I've come to. Because I mean, it's lovely to see people start drawing and just kind of blossom with the idea that they can do something that makes them happy.
Yeah. Well, how do you describe the type of art that you do?
Well, I went to art school in Canada and back in my 20s, 200 years ago, and I started off with a lot of drawing and painting and continued to do that. But then there's this in Vancouver and in Canada there's this political movement called the Artist Run Center, where we have the boards of directors and the staff and everybody involved with these places. They're all practicing working artists. And believe it or not, it's hard to get that with admin. A lot of artists can't do admin. So I've been involved with the Artist Run Center movement doing public art. So what I like to do is do artwork that normal people can see, like that, anybody can see. For example, we put the organization I've been with, we got these submissions for people to do these big banners, and so we translated paintings into these big, huge banners, and we put them on around this public site by the beach, and people just love it, right? Like they love to see original art, and it's so inaccessible. And I'm so involved. Like the artist scene is so like it's the industry in the world with a, it's billions and billions and billions of dollars, and it's completely and utterly unregulated. There's no rules, never has been, right? How can you really? And so consequently, the hierarchies with people in power, like it's all dominated by men, and who's going to be a famous artist. It's really hard to make it, right? So I don't like the elitism. Like a lot of these galleries that I'm involved with, you should see, like they're snobby, they're mean to people that don't know what's going on. And I think that's terrible, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm as open as I possibly can. So I guess the kind of art I do is I do public art, which means big, huge things that the people can see, or not big, but like in places that lots of people can see. My favorite practice these days is doing drawings on the bus. Like I said, I take my notebook and I surreptitiously sit there with my sunglasses on and I draw people. So right now I love to do the drawings. Then I come back here to my studio. Recently I've been putting them on these pieces of balsa wood. So what I do is I do watercolor on the balsa wood, and then I do Mod Podge, stick drawings on there. And then they look really cool like that. And so and also I cut the drawings out, and there's something about cutting art. My mom taught us to draw with scissors because she was a kindergarten teacher. So, I mean, it's really funny, Kate, because if you ask me to do any animal or any object out of a piece of paper, I can cut it out in 2 seconds
Hey,
perfectly with no lines
that's a
anyway. So,
skill.
yeah. So the kind of art I do is accessible to the public.
Speaking of accessible to the public, I think I'll
I
put
think I'll
this
put this
video
video.
on YouTube so that people can actually see what you're holding up. One thing I need to lean into, I don't need to, but I've been trying to push
Trying to
myself
push
to lean into is to create more video content. Ooh, I love that. So I'm going to make this a YouTube video. Very cool. And I love the concept that it's open for
for
everyone to
everyone.
see and to reject this elitist viewpoint
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the art world. Sick.
Makes me so mad. I mean, it's all about money.
Yes.
And like the big gallery here, they've got tiers, TIERSs of membership, depending on how much money you get. So they have a members opening, and so they've got like security guards, and only those will let in. Like it's 5 o'clock. If you're one of those members, you get like a whole dinner. At 6 o'clock, you get a couple appetizers. At 7 o'clock, you get a free drink. 8 o'clock is for the regular general. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's no other way to do it because they need the money because they don't get very much money from the government. You know what I mean? So, like, I can't criticize. But I guess my point is, I've heard too many people say that they came to like too many normal normies. They'll come to an opening. I'll say, why don't you come to such and such's exhibition opening at the gallery? And they come, and for some reason I'm not there, or I miss them, or I don't see them. And they try and talk to people, and people are like, and it doesn't always happen. I might have a chip on my shoulder about it, but it really bothers me that people can't just like enjoy art. That's what it's there for, right? Don't you think?
Absolutely. And that's how I feel about fashion as well. My husband and I are starting a fashion nonprofit to
Are
put on
you
runway shows to make more accessible to the public. Now, of course, these will be fundraisers for mental health and addiction, but I feel like there's so much gatekeeping in fashion as well. You can't
Right.
even get invitation to a fashion show.
That's right.
And then people are intimidated to go because you have to be a certain way or know a certain person and I would really love to see more access to fashion, and that's what we're going to be doing here locally. But it's very much the same in the fashion world. I mean,
Of
I go to
course it
New York
is.
Fashion Week. I can't even get into any of the shows. It's not
So it's
accessible
exactly
for
the same. Yeah.
like a minion like me, you know.
You know what I mean? Not exactly.
It's the same.
You have to know the right people or come from the right people or whatever. I had this friend who, she's a powerhouse because she sells her stuff for like 50 grand each and stuff. So
Okay.
she goes to all the big galas. Like you wouldn't believe the shit that happens. I mean, basically in this city, which is like Canada's third largest city, by the way, Vancouver, Canada. There's about 2,000 people that all know each other that have known each other for 40 years, and it, like peripherally or whatever. So it's the art scene, right? And so they all have shows, and yeah, and they all like lord it over each other. And I mean, so yeah, I'm sure the fashion industry is exactly like the same thing. Getting an invite and all that. I mean, so I don't agree with what really bugs me though is I had that happen recently, so I'm probably activated. Like where a friend came to an art opening that I recommended, and she couldn't find me or something. It was packed, and she tried to talk to people, and they were not nice to her. Like so she just felt like snubbed, right? And I just don't
Yep.
want that happening. It's not fair for people because art is art.
Yes, and you
Yes.
mentioned how important the art community was for you. When you
Yeah.
leave your old drinking, drugging community, I know I left mine. I had no friends because I was
Yeah.
living at the bars.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about the art community because I've been kind of looking at it from the outside. The only art community I'm assimilated into is the fashion one. And I'm like, I would love to be involved more in the art community, but it feels like really gatekeepy and scary.
Where are you? What city are you in?
I'm in Olympia, Washington, near Seattle.
Yeah, okay. So with the art community, it's so much part of my story. Like when I was 25, I finished university and I was with a bad guy, and my parents shipped me out 3,000 miles away to where I am now, Vancouver. And unbeknownst to me, they gave me a job with one of their people that they know who happened to be, so it was an artist run center. And it was a big, huge, beautiful building with lots of programs and everything. And I was the office manager there. And so I came up in that community. They were really great. They gave me lots of opportunities for shows and exhibitions and conversations, dinner parties, and we used to have these dinner parties in this big performance space with like 60 people, and we call it performance art, right? And it was great, and everybody would get to do things, and then I bottomed out on alcohol, in like yeah, in 2000, and well, no, it was earlier than that. And they booted me out, Kate. They kicked me under. What do they call it? What do they say that? They threw me under the bus. And because I was a young, beautiful, loose, drunken woman, and I had major problems.
Shame.
Well, no, at first what happened was when I first came, without getting into details, there was sort of this thing going around where it was like me and a couple of other young people. They were like, "Oh, good, we got our new blood," and they were passing us around, sexually assaulting us, and so it was pretty awful. And anyway, fast forward to now, I'm still with that group, and I see these old wretched 90-year-olds that were in that, and I'm just like, wow, what a weird. Because now I've worked my way back up to being I'm like considered a subject matter expert on the artist right center movement in Canada, and I've had a few shows around, and there's a publication coming out. And this is all really since I started with She Recovers because I didn't have any confidence before. So the art community has, like I still, partly it's been wonderful to have a community like that, but at the same time, it's been a long way back. But I have done it. Like, I mean, I would never recommend it or something, like I bottomed out and I spent 20 years coming back to be where I want to be with it. But I have done that now, and people really respect my sobriety and stuff. And you know,
So you talked about earlier about art giving you structure, and I imagine that means structure during your day, something to do, but also a structure to your life and a language. And I wanted you to elaborate on that because I think that's such a beautiful way to put it.
Well, it's funny, there were things that I couldn't explain about my sobriety or whatever was going on or what I wanted to in the world, think about the world or whatever, that but I couldn't explain. But I could paint them. And so I can hold like things that have happened to me in color, humor, composition, memory, and image. And like the thing is, lately I've been doing these big narrative, historical, emotional documents of things that happened in the 80s and 90s in the art scene for this publication, I know.
I
And there
can't
was,
wait.
thanks. And that's coming out in October. And so actually, it was like my higher power did it because like I got the call for proposals and it was for scholarly articles on, the artist around center, blah, 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 kind of funding they got, who's involved and what kind of artists and the provenance of the people and blah, 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 blah. And I literally had this light bulb that went off and said, I should do paintings of things that happened, not just scholarly articles. So I did the paintings and they loved it. The curators, they're like PhD art historians. And so they're like, oh my God, get us, so I did 5 big ones. The, so art helped me to metabolize my experience without having to turn everything because of the wildness of it into a crisis or a confession. And I just thought of that today. Like, I just thought it's true because normal people, like, you would understand, but I mean, some of the shit I got up to, like it was a bad scene. And so to be able to do a painting of it is so different than telling somebody because normal people especially are just like, right? You know, they
Fuck
haven't.
normal people.
I know, like normal people ask me. My normal friends, they ask me all the time, like. They think, AA or She Recovers they think, oh yeah, it's just some club you join when you got a little problem. It's like, no, nobody joins a recovery organization unless they've looked over the edge, right? Like it's not something you just join up for. So my artwork has been great because I've been able to tell like really wild stories in my artwork that I can just paint about.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's less censored? Art is less censored than maybe the written word?
Well, as you can imagine, censorship in the entire big picture of art, including the billion-dollar industry and shock value and the difference between sensationalism and art is a huge conversation. I've been through some major battles with various like artists. Like there was this one artist in the 70s that did this portrait of a bunch of gay people. And he had been commissioned, sort of like told, if you do this project, then we'll put it in the big, huge Vancouver Art Gallery. And they said no, it's too shocking, and so they canceled. So he went to a big, long court battle, and now it's hilarious because it's not even that shocking, right? It's a
Yeah.
great thing. It's all these little video clips of these gay people talking about their experience coming out and everything, because that was back then, right? And so my girlfriend would know a really smart answer to that, but I don't.
I love that. I love that answer right there. You also mentioned something I thought was really interesting before we started. You said intergenerational memory. There's a
Yeah.
bigger story or a longer story here. And I wanted you to help me understand what you meant by that.
Well, okay, so a lot of my friends that are famous artists, they like I got this core group of friends that I was supposed to be like, okay, this is my story, right? I was supposed to be just as famous as them, but then I bottomed out and got kicked into hit, threw under the bus. And the reason I'm so resentful about that, Kate, is because this was in the 90s, early 90s, and at the time there were these 2 gay guys that were the 3 of us hung out. Like we were terribly behaved, like doing lots of awful things and with our bodies and substances and everything, and not to other people, just to ourselves. And when I bottomed out eventually, and they fired me from the Artist Room Center, and they just basically said, they just cut me loose. Like, we don't have time for you. We don't want you coming around here. You're too drunk. And the 2 gay guys, they brought them in and sent them to treatment and took care of them. And I think it's the patriarchy because
For
who
sure.
obviously. So that I'm just telling you why I have such a resentment. Like I've really had to be careful because I can go back into those. So recently, the place that I was at that had a hard time. They became they're really, really well established now, and I'm going to get more involved with them as a way to help my brain get around that. Because I figure the more I'm in She Recovers and the more I'm in recovery, I realize that whole thing about, and in therapy, that whole thing about the stories that we tell ourselves. Like, I have told myself, yeah, this story that's been pretty harsh and not very self-compassionate for all these years. And because I'm now in She Recovers and I have room for my own self-compassion, I'm starting to see, no, Susie, you're hurting yourself with your own terrible story, right? Which, as you know, because you're a coach, is so awful to see. It's so painful. So, okay, the intergenerational memory thing. So, what being involved with the art community the way that I am, my parents and all these people that I hang out with every day, it helps me understand. It helped me when I was, especially when I became sober, that I was part of a bigger story, like a larger story. I'm not just an isolated person trying to survive. And I always say this, and the worst punishment for humans in jail and whatever is, what is it called? What's it called? Like
Solitary.
solitary. Think about that. That's the worst punishment for humans. So we go there when we feel like shit, when we got shame. So that was really so, because I was part of a history and a community and a movement and a conversation, it makes me understand that no matter what happens, like, I'm part of this. Like, I can't help it. The being part of the society, the Vancouver artists, it helps me to realize, like, to become available to my own memories. Like, I see, what's that, a priori, what happened. I have been here. I've been living here. I've been making art. I've been on the boards of directors of artist friend centers. I contribute constantly. I go to lots of art openings. Like, it's not just what I'm perceiving, it's actually true. So I'm part of it. Maybe I'm getting too complicated. I started this
No.
off by telling you that I was at this billionaire's beautiful place for dinner one time with my famous artist friends, and everyone was sitting around. It was beautiful and everything, and I could hear three of them talking. Like, these are the ones that are my age that I should have been part of, but wasn't. But anyway, so I'm here, and they're talking about their legacy. They're like, well, when I die, the University of British Columbia is going to have an entire wing dedicated to it. And I'm like, so I say to them, you guys are talking about, like, when you're dead. Like, you're not here. How can you enjoy it? And I realized later that that's what they do. So the legacy thing has been, I've dissed myself on that, right? Like, you're not gonna have a legacy, you haven't done enough work, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're not really worthy, you're just like on the peripheral. No matter what, it's helped me to see that I am making up those stories.
I love that. Yeah. One thing I wanted to circle back to, because this is a feminist podcast, you mentioned how readily you were kicked out of a system that men were kind of poo-pooed along in.
Yeah.
One of my favorite documentaries is about Maria Grazia, and she does a documentary called Her Dior. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's called Her Dior. What she's explaining in the documentary is the women left out of the arts.
Yes.
And she has guests on, like Judy Chicago, that go way back to when we left women out of the art books, out of the art history, and we're doing it in fashion too. Most creative directors.
Science.
Yeah. I mean, well, we leave women out of everything, but like when we're talking about the arts, like in fashion, most creative directors are men. And so I can see why there's a justifiable bit of anger here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you were singled out in that way. Do you feel like you had to work harder as a woman or as a female?
Way harder. And I mean, I know that because my friends that have made it, it's mostly men, and the male, like anything, like the scene, the art world is dominated by men. Men are the ones who make the decisions, the greedy sons of bitches. And I mean, but now we're uncovering all this stuff about who was there and who was making art. And I love the fact that they now, a lot of the writing stuff, like these old guys, like the E. Cummings, and I can't remember the names of the Shelley and Percy, and they now realize that it was their female fucking partners who wrote this shit. It was never them. Like, they know that now. They've got evidence. Like, especially E. Cummings, a big famous poet. It was his wife, Shirley. No, it's not right. But anyway, so, but I gotta say to you, I hope things are changing, Kate. There's a crack in the patriarchy, I hope. When I get on the bus and I see the young women here who are like in high school, and I think about what the patriarchy made us wear, me, my generation. I was born in 1960. We had to wear skimpy little clothes. Like that was the thing. And these kids nowadays are like they're in their big baggy clothes. It's like fuck you, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I would say it's getting worse in the United States because of our current government, and we're really fighting. But there's this whole movement where women like me, over 40 midlife women, are saying, fuck you, my body, my choice. And
Yeah.
we're getting tattoos. And we're really rebelling. Like I'm kind of leaning into goth style lately.
You look great. Love your style.
Most of my tats are from the last couple of years, and I'm pushing 47. And I think it's like this mini counterculture of like, no, fuck you. We're going back in time. I mean, we've lost reproductive rights in the States, and we're contemplating taking away women's rights to vote, the LGBTQ community rights to vote. I mean, the things that are happening in the United States are a fucking nightmare. And I think from an art perspective, what you're seeing with women wearing baggy clothes and, kids saying, fuck you, tattoos. And even me, like I've been trained as a woman growing up in the 90s, dress sexy, kind of Calvin Klein. And I'm like, no, I'll wear head to toe black and be tatted just to say, fuck the patriarchy. It's like at work, I joke, I'm giving Ellen DeGeneres vibes because I'm like, I hope you mistake me as a lesbian because don't fucking come for me. Like I'm in my lesbian era, but I think I'm in my lesbian era, not because I'm happily married and I love my husband, but because I'm frustrated,
Yes.
And I think that anger has to go somewhere. And maybe I've taken it out on my skin and tattooed. I love the art of tattooing, though. I do have to say, I love that. I notice you have some tattoos as well.
Yes, but I have to admit something.
What?
They're fake.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yes, it's like an art form for me, Kate. What I do is I order them from all over the place, and depending on where I'm going, like when I go to, like, for example, this one was fading, so I put 1, 2 over top, so it looks so cool. And sometimes I put colored ones on top of the black and white ones, and then I take them off in the bathtub. Yeah, it's hard to get them off. You got to use rubbing alcohol. And it's a bit like it's not like, but anyway, it's worth it because then I can put a whole new bunch on. Nobody knows or thinks about people. You would never think that a 65-year-old woman would like do this, right?
I would do that. Redecorating your body, and you have the
One
freedom to do that.
And then I put
That's
that
really cool
drag in there, and so. But I love it. I love it. I think I'm really lucky that I've discovered this way of doing it because I have friends that got tattoos like 40 years ago, and they don't look good.
Yeah, they look like shit because they're all faded. Yeah, but that's cool. I might steal that idea as some of mine faded. Just stick on some temporaries here and there and change them up how I want to.
It's really fun. It's like I'll show you. I've got all these. See, I've got all these tattoos.
Ooh, I love that. And then you don't have to live with it forever.
No, and then I have the little ones. I put them on top sometimes, and it's really fun. And it's because I go to a lot of art events with my girlfriend. We get dressed up. That's one really fun thing, which I know you must love too, right? That's why you're in it. I love getting dressed up. I think all humans do. And then to go out and see and be seen, and like the art scene. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's so much fun to go with your friend. And I do think that I wish that was more like, in terms of being like, I wish more people would encourage that in the coaching because like if you like, I just know that it's a human biological imperative that if you spend some time on your body and your face and your clothes and you go out to a place where there's other people that have done that and you walk around, it feels really good. I think it's like, what do you think?
Yes, I did a whole podcast episode on get sober, get a life, and get dressed.
Really? I'm gonna listen to that.
And I think some people might have taken that as kind of like, whoa, wow, she's rude. But really,
oh wait, I love that.
I mean, getting dressed for me saved my life in recovery. Being able to artistically design. Oh, that's
See, there's me and my
awesome.
girlfriend. Don't we look
Oh, I
cool?
love it. Yes. Yeah, like getting dressed for me based on my mood and getting, like you said, getting out, seeing and being seen.
I think we
Like
need
it
it.
is important.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And also, it's if you think about animals, they spend a lot of time making themselves all beautiful and everything. Like I think it's like like a self care to the mats or something. So, God, it's so much fun talking to you.
Yeah. So how would you describe your personal style?
Well, in the '90s and in the '80s, late '70s and '80s, I was a hardcore punk. I was
Oh, love it.
oh yeah, we called ourselves radical feminist punks. We had a bunch of people, and I had my head shaved and I had dreadlocks, and I wore all these like black clothes and black leather jackets and everything and whatever. But so then recently, since I've been in She Recovers, because I thought I had to be kind of like some kind of because as I got older, I thought I had to be straight or something. And then I realized, no, I can do what the fuck I want. So all I do is order the same clothes that I wore in the '90s.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I'm getting ready to go to New York, and my goal is to go to Trash and Vaudeville, one of the old OG punk goth stores in
I
St. Mark's Place.
I saw Iggy Pop in 1982 in Hanover, and he was just. And the reason I'm telling you this is because we were like there was me and my friend, and we were all punked out. We were Canadian, but we were Canadian. We thought we were really cool and everything. But you should have seen the German punk rockers at that thing. They had like lines of safety pins in their skin, lines going up like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around their arms with all safety pins in their skin. I'll never forget that.
Love it. I have one safety pin tattooed on over here, and that's
That's
an homage to punk for
that's
sure. I'm a big fan of Vivienne Westwood and the whole punk movement. In fact,
great.
I've been listening to Bauhaus, man. Bela Lugosi's dead. I'm getting into it.
What's up? My favorite, of course, their big hit, Bauhaus, Something, Something is Dead.
Bela Lugosi's dead.
I love that. Oh,
Yeah, I've been also listening to a lot of Susie Sue and the Banshees. Love her style.
oh, love it, love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
I saw the Ramones, but I was so drunk in England when I was there, but I was so drunk that it hurt.
Oh. Oh my God. Well, you're doing better than I am because I didn't see
It
any
was
of
just
that.
so funny when I realized, like, I want to wear like black clothes again. Like, I want to be like who I really am. And so that's
Yeah.
what I started doing. It's only a couple of years. I was like, I'm going to put on fake tattoo and wear, and like, it just feels so natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into that. I don't think it really matters. I mean,
No.
it shouldn't matter, especially in a community as open as She Recovers. I love that community because I feel like we can just show
Just
up
show
as
up
we
as
are. I swear, wear whatever I want. For the most part, say whatever I want. Of course, keeping in with the respect and the community guidelines, but I feel like I can be myself. I don't
yeah,
have
for
to
sure.
subscribe to the dogma of AA. I don't have to call myself an alcoholic. I can show up fully as I am, and I like that.
It's great. It's magical. I've got, my God, talk about like intelligent women. It's such a pleasure to be there. Are we wrapping up or what are we?
We we are. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you or see your work?
Absolutely. They can come to my Instagram. It's Susi Milne Artist 777. So that's my handle.
Okay.
So it's SUSIMILNE Artist 7. So that would be great. And I've been selling a lot of these, and
Mhm.
so I have tons of those available. And I also have another page. But if they come to this page, I can direct them to the art page.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for coming on. I'll put your links in the show notes, and I'm hoping to get at least video clips of this, if not put the whole thing on. All right, that's what I got for you today. If this hits, send it to a woman who needs to hear this shit because we are not doing this alone. You can find me on Instagram and pretty much all the socials at Rewired Sober. The links are in my show notes if you want to work with me one-on-one and go deeper. I love you, mean it, take care of yourself, and I'll catch you on the next one.